Hey guys, welcome to the page. I am Ken Smith with Ken Smith Gallery, and today we are going to try to make this model look like my Model A. Now there's definitely some differences. For example, I don't have my spare tire mounted up here in the wheel well, and the color is close, but it's not exact. Now the challenge that I don't have the luggage trunk that you see here in the back. That I don't have. If you recall, I have a couple of suitcases that are mounted on the back. But we're going to try to make this resemble my Model A, Town Sedan. And some of the challenges that I'm going to experience is going to be the fact that this has already been assembled, and I don't know how long it's been assembled, but I can tell you that trying to take a model apart once it's been assembled usually creates an even bigger issue. So I'm really, and since this also has glass in the windows, this really becomes a huge challenge, because if any of that glass loosens up and I can't get the screws out of this old Hubley model, I'm going to open up Pandora's box. And it's really a nice model as it stands. Really done very, very well. Yes, the engine is not the correct color and all those good things. There we go, a little closer light. You can see that it's actually black like the rest of the frame and the fenders. And I get all of that. I'm not trying to make this a... I'm not trying to make this a point car. And so I just want something that sits on the shelf, kind of looks similar to my car. So we're going to go ahead and try to slightly disassemble this, maybe change a few things. So let's get started. So I'm sitting in my man cave, and it's like about 110 degrees out here in the shed. And so the first thing I wanted to do was to remove this, and I very carefully got in here with a screwdriver because it was glued on, and I gently removed it. Again, really nice job. This trunk was, I'm not sure if the actual Hubley model came with this little addition to kind of hide the back end of it. My guess is it probably did not. And so somebody was smart enough to add a small little piece of styrene that you see right here. I'm not going to use the trunk. I really think that I might be able to cut some smaller pieces of wood that would fit on the luggage rack here and paint them and possibly add some details to them to make them look like a couple of suitcases. And if I can do that, I'll be quite happy. As you can see, the model is really done quite well. It has a few things on it that obviously aren't perfect, and it doesn't have the step plates that I have. I might try to make those. It also doesn't have the bug catcher, and I got an idea to use for the stone guard. I'm thinking about if I can get a piece of window screen to cover all of this piece of window screen material. It might be thin enough to be able to get behind the bar. I might have to try to bend the bar out a little bit and then just try to get that screen to fit around there. Might be able to do that. I'm not sure how that will look. Window screen material is pretty easy, and scale wise it'll be somewhat kind of close to a bug screen. Again, like I said, most of this car, some of the screws have been painted over. There's a screw that sits right here for the roof. And I really don't think I'm going to be able to get that off. I'm going to try, but I don't want to damage the vehicle. The tires here, I think, will come off fairly easy. They don't look like they're glued on, and they all rotate. So I'm going to try to loosen these screws, take those off, and repaint the wheels to resemble mine. This portion of the body, this will be easy enough for me to paint. Even if I can't disassemble it, we'll just take some painter's tape, mask everything off, and give it a spray. Well, I did manage to get all of the wheels off the car. Those came off pretty easy. The tires off the rims, that was a little different story. Again, these kits are so old that, believe it or not, these tires are a little bit on the brittle side. So I'll probably soak them in warm water now that I've gotten them off without really a whole lot of damage. I'll probably soak them in warm water, maybe even put a little dish soap in there just to kind of lubricate them a little bit when I go to put them on the rims. But I'm going to go ahead, and I think this is about as far down as I really want to disassemble. I'm just going to elect to go ahead and mask this off. We're going to go ahead and start with painting the rims, and then we'll start masking off the body. It is so hot in my work shed that it's got to be at least 110 degrees in here. I kid you not, I'm dying. I'll probably end up painting this in the garage because it's about 30 degrees cooler there, and I don't have to worry about a whole lot of humidity messing up things. Okay, so we've got our wheels painted, and in case you're wondering what I've got, this is actually automotive paint. Kind of matches the wheels that are currently on the car, and that's actually what we're going to use on the body as well. It's just some automotive paint, so she'll be the bottom half of the car will be pretty spot on. So as you recall, I have two small suitcases, leather suitcases that sit on the back of my luggage rack. And I was kind of at a quandary as to what to do. And so I'm kind of looking around in the shop trying to see what I might have. Found this piece of wood right there, which is almost spot on as far as height goes. And so, or thickness, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple of these, sand them down pretty smooth, and then paint them and maybe add some straps to it and kind of make them look like some suitcases. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think I'm going to try a piece of wood to do that. Alrighty, so I've got our first piece of wood just sitting in there, kind of dry fitting. And I think this might work. I think if we get another piece, just lay it up on top, should bring it up to about here. Might be a little bit higher than I like, but again, I'm just looking for aesthetics. But I definitely like how it sits on the luggage rack. It's almost identical to how it sits on mine. So far so good. Alrighty, so moment of truth. We've got two. Just kind of roughly cut, just kind of laying them up there, seeing how things are going to fit. And I'm pretty impressed. I think that might work. If you're curious as to whether or not these might be too high, which is absolutely something I was concerned about, there it is, kind of next to the trunk. And surprisingly, there we go. Surprisingly, the trunk is just a tad bit taller, not much, but I definitely think that would work. And so I'm pleased, and I think I'm gonna just sand them down a little bit, make them a little bit more smooth, and get a coat of paint on it and see what they might look like. Alrighty, so I went ahead and just flashed on some brown paint here real quick, just so we could kind of see what that might look like. And I'm pretty pleased. Now we've got to kind of give it a little bit of a leather texture. I've got an idea for that, and I think it might work, but I don't want to reveal just yet what I'm willing to try. So we're just going to kind of play it by ear and see if we can add a little bit of leather texture. And so I kind of moved some of the work indoors just because it's so stinking hot outside. And I went ahead and was able to remove some of the components of the body, but not everything. And so because of the plastic for the windows being glued in place, I had to be really careful. So I used a lot of like Post-it notes all along inside of the tape as well, just to kind of tape off the body. But you can kind of get an idea of, sorry for just kind of moving things around, but I got the body pretty well taped off, so I'll be able to get the lower tone on there. And also wanted to show you the suitcases. So here's what I ended up doing with the suitcases. As you can see, took blocks of wood, used painter's tape, and the painter's tape gave me a little bit of texture. My first experiment was with the wood, was that just as the wood was kind of tacky, and I sprayed it to just kind of touch it with my fingertips to give it some texture. Two things that happened. Obviously, I got paint on my fingers, but it didn't really hide the wood grain at all. So this definitely, I think, is going to work. The handles I made just out of an old piece of business card, and this is just painter's tape. They're all glued together, so I'm kind of thinking that once I get a layer of paint on this, that should look pretty good. So we're gonna give that a whirl too. All right, so we just got her out of the paint shop. You can see where I definitely got the two-tone now. Really pretty close to the color of my car. Now it's not spot on, but it's pretty close. And something I'm really kind of excited about was just how the luggage kind of came out. I got, it really looks like old luggage now. Really what this was, and you kind of saw what I did, kind of get it up close. So it definitely got the texture that I wanted. And see if I can kind of somewhat get there. You know, and granted, I get it. It's not to scale and all of that stuff, but you know, I'm not rivet counting anymore. I just wanted to have kind of a fun model that maybe I could take on the road with me and kind of take a picture. I've got some ideas on what I might do as far as photographing it and whatnot. The wheels came out pretty good. They're the color of my wheels. And so we're going to go ahead and start putting it together. Now, the other thing was I actually got most of this model apart. I couldn't get it all apart, but it really did help with the painting, and really kind of pleased with that. Again, just really kind of came out nice. Got that two-tone look that I was hoping to get. So we're going to go ahead and start putting it back together. I'm finally not dying. We got a good rainstorm here, and it really cooled things down. But boy, man, was it hot earlier today. But I managed to get all of this done really just in about 5-6 hours. So I'm pretty pleased with that. That's a pretty good time considering everything. So we'll go ahead and start getting her put back together now. Well, I'm back in the shop, and you can now see that I got the card down. I really like how the two-tone paint came out. Really was a little tricky trying to get that coat up there, especially with the windows already being in place. Like I said, I was able to get some of the car apart, but I obviously couldn't get all of it apart. A few other things that I'd like to point out. I was able to paint the blue bumperettes, or whatever they're called. I'm not really too sure. I was able to paint those. The center one, they're molded, by the way, into the bumpers. The center one was not on, and I chose not to do that. Also, if you may recall, the tail lights were actually painted silver. I went ahead and I was able to get those off, so I painted those black. And there's the luggage, how that came out. Let's see if we can get a little closer. Really like how the luggage came out. And here's the other side. And see if we can get a little closer so you can see that two-tone paint. Again, really like how it came out. I also took off the license plate that was on the front here, and I haven't glued this in just yet. Now, the reason why I haven't done that is I'm still debating on whether or not I want to try to come up with a stone guard for it or not. And I'm going to put on a Tennessee license plate on the front and then definitely on the back. It looked like there was a, yeah, I wasn't sure what state that was. The other thing that I've not done, well, there's two things. Obviously, this did not go on the back. I could not get this model apart, and so I opted not to try to cut the wheel well out here. Had I got a separate model, one that wasn't assembled, I would have done that. But since this was assembled and part of it I just could not get apart, I just opted to leave the spare tire alone, painted the wheels to match the car, and that's about it. I'm really pretty pleased with it overall. I'm going to take this now and try to do some photography outside. So we're going to kind of see how it photographs outside. The other thing, put your comments down below. I'd really appreciate hearing from you. I did not opt to put my YouTube signs on my Model A, on this model. I don't always run with those signs on my car, and I really only do it if I'm going to a specific location to photograph or create a YouTube video. And but sometimes I just like not having the signs on and just driving, and so I opted not to put the signs on. But I'd love to hear your comments, so again, put them down below. So let's go outside and see if we can make some images with this car. Okay, so I am in downtown Jonesboro, just outside of downtown Jonesboro. I've actually never shown some of the other historic buildings in my previous videos, this being one of them right here. Actually, this building here, there's a church right over there. Downtown is actually back in this location over here. So I brought some stuff with me to take the model and actually photograph it. Now it just got done raining, and you can kind of tell. So the sun is kind of trying to fight to come out. It's actually, if I'm looking at this house, the sun is just behind me and above me on the left-hand side. So I'm gonna try and shoot when the light goes soft, because there's some clouds here, there's some blue sky over in this direction here, and eventually that sun is gonna start casting some harsh shadows. So let's see if I can create some images using only my cell phone. Nothing more, just my cell phone. No fancy apps for post-processing, just my cell phone, and just whatever adjustments that the stock phone comes with, I'll use for post, but no apps, no nothing else. And we're going to see if we can create some fun images. So let's go. Alrighty, so we got some nice soft light. Like I said, I'm gonna just try and do this with nothing but my cell phone. Just kind of move around a little bit, take a couple of photos, see what we got. Gonna move the car around a little bit too, just to really kind of maximize our space. The key with doing any of this type of photography is to be sure that we've got some really soft light. Harsh light creates really harsh shadows. That's with anything really, and so we want to kind of maximize that. I'm really excited just kind of looking at this, how these are kind of coming in. So the first thing I realized after I took a couple of photos is I was actually a little too far back, and I didn't like the way the edge of the board lined up with the curb. So I went ahead and moved everything about 15-20 feet further up. So we're going to take some pictures. Hopefully I've got a cloud that's over here. You can kind of see I've got some really harsh shadows. So I'm going to wait for that cloud to kind of come in. And yeah, the life of a photographer, what can I say? But initially what I saw on the phone, unedited, I was actually really impressed. And that's pretty cool. So again, just waiting for some shadow to come in here, some softer light, and we're going to continue on. Okay, Murphy's Law with me. I ended up moving because the clouds just aren't cooperating. It's super harsh light where I was. I've got some light here from the tree over here casting a shadow. And so we're going to try and line up the edge of this board with the curb right over there so that it hides or blends in really good with the parking lot edge, and we'll get kind of some of this house in the background. The important thing with photography is to move around. Don't get stuck in one location. In fact, the worst thing that you can possibly ever do if you have a camera and a tripod is to set up your tripod and then start looking at your scene. Because invariably what you're going to do is you're going to shoot from wherever that tripod is set at. Now I'm kind of limited as to what I can do because of my setup, but I did bring a couple of 5-gallon buckets so that I can at least lower this setup if I need to get a little bit lower. But I'm really liking how the light is playing, so we're going to continue and move the car around and shoot. Alrighty, so I've got the church over here in the background, moved our setup over here, and I actually moved the trash can out of the way. We're going to take a couple of quick photos here. This is our second, probably our last spot for this video. Again, just using our cell phone. We'll throw the pictures at the back end just so that you can kind of see them. There won't be any editing other than some color balancing and some black and white versus color, but all from what's only available with this cheap Samsung phone. No other software, no Photoshop, no On1, no whatever that's out there, just only what's on the phone, no apps. So let's get started with this. Alrighty, and I think that's gonna about do it. I'm gonna throw pictures at the back end of this so you can take a kind of a good look at them. Hey, remember to please like and subscribe. It's so important to us. It helps to encourage me to continue to bring content. And some days I just need all the encouragement I can get. But most of all, y'all be blessed.